Hello, and we're live again. For
We are
those of you,
alive.
oh, it seems like your voice is registering now. Say something.
Hello everyone,
Yay! For
and
those of you
welcome.
who are here to witness our unfortunate technical difficulty earlier, God, I'm so happy right now. It's working. Anyway, to start from the top again, my name is Nat. This is Cha. Say hi.
Hello.
Hello. And today we're gonna be talking about our friend here, Loki, and his latest series on Marvel. Actually, Disney Plus, I guess. So, today's podcast, we will be going through what we thought about the series and our predictions for what's coming next. I guess we'll just get right into it. Oh, wait, disclaimer first. If any of you haven't watched the series yet, firstly, go watch it, please. It's probably the best MCU TV series that's come out so far. But secondly, spoiler, we're gonna be talking a lot about spoilers and what happened, especially in the finale. So if you haven't watched it, just pause right here, leave. We will be uploading the VOD to our YouTube so you can watch it there after you've watched the Loki series. Okay, should we jump right into it?
Yes, we shall.
Yay.
And I think when you talk about spoilers here, we just remind uh, most of you who have actually watched the Marvel series so far. Um, Loki is a totally different beast from all the other series, which is actually just WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because there is actually spoilers, right? There is a lot of spoilers. So yes, go ahead, Nathalie. Let's start with episode one.
Yep. So shall I do a short recap of each episode? I think I remember
Yeah,
it. I have
sure. Go ahead.
yeah, full disclosure, I have watched the series like 3 times now. Not like I had to watch it once with myself, once with my parents, and the last time with my sister who refuses to watch anything until it's like finished. So not entirely my fault, okay?
Yeah, I blame your sister also. Don't worry.
Wow. So in episode one, oh, dead person's a heart. Hi, Poiting. Okay, episode one. In
Puting, your
episode
shirt
one,
Puting. Second shout out.
yeah, shout out
Get
for Poiting shirt, right?
get Puting shirt, right? It's cool. It's cool. It has a nice sun, and it's like the universe, which is the Marvel universe. Saw that
Wow.
stretch. Anyways, let's go. Episode one,
Yes.
yo.
Okay, in episode one, we pick off at the events of Avengers Endgame, right? Yeah, where they're
Inf-
going back to
not
get the Tesseract. Loki picks it
Infinity
up
War.
and is it Infinite? Yeah, Infinity War. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, he picks it up and he disappears, and like Tom Hiddleston gets paid like 6 million for it.
Yes.
And then we find out where he lands. He lands in like the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, and he gets swept away by the TVA, more like arrested by the TVA for being a crime, for committing a crime against the sacred timeline. A lot of jargon here.
And we're not talking about that cute Dragon
Well,
Quest
nobody
11
knows
monster.
who is jargon from Dragon Quest, okay?
I'm sure there's fans outside there, okay? Like, yeah, I'm sure. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, so episode one, he gets his like brain like mind blown because he realizes that his entire purpose of living is just to fail and to make other people better. He realizes that his parents die. He thinks like his brother dies, and he sees himself die, which is kind of crazy. And then
Yeah.
we find out at the end of the episode that there is another Loki, who now we know who she is. But in the first episode, we don't know yet. And when it first came out, I think it was quite a big, like, it was a bombastic first episode to say the least.
Yeah, which is totally different in my opinion, because I feel that the first episode was the second weakest episode
Oh,
of the series, and that's a good thing. Whenever an early episode is weak, I feel that's okay, right? Because that's how it's supposed to be. Can't have like, just totally different from WandaVision, which is like first 3, 4, 5 episodes is like super strong, and then as the series goes on, you kind of wonder what's going on, right? And then the ending was totally anticlimactic. And I feel that the setup was very vague, right? Like episode one, when I was watching that, I had like so many theories. I was like thinking like, there was the devil on the stained glass, in the church where Mobius found Kablooey, and there was a lot of things, and I was at least in my head, I was thinking that okay, the villain could be Mephisto, the villain could
Come
be
on. Mephisto again.
yeah, yeah, again, right? Because I thought like they were linking in Multiverse of Madness, where probably Doctor Strange is going to go against Mephisto,
I
uh,
mean,
and they probably wanted to create a villain that was stretched throughout the series. So WandaVision as well as um, Loki would have some overlap because both of them dealt with magic. However, I felt that episode one wasn't like super awesome, right? I felt it was okay. They kind of like played it safe, right? Even with the even with like the killing, the oil and whatever, right? Of the TV agents, I felt that it was quite tame, right? So yeah, it wasn't like WandaVision where the first episode was like, huh, what, right? Why is it a sitcom? Why is it black and white? Why, and then there's someone watching the sitcom while we are watching them watching the sitcom, right? It's like super meta. But yeah, exactly. So I felt that this episode was a okay setup, right? But yeah, I know you feel totally different about it.
okay, I was just about to say that I think we had very different experiences with the first episode of Loki. Okay, I just to preface, I did not think it was amazing. I honestly, my first prediction for Loki was that they were going to explore the whole this Loki is different from the Loki of Thor Ragnarok, who is like totally changed and everything. But the first episode kind of spoiled that because he learned like everything that happens to himself, and he has like several movies worth of character development in like 5 minutes. Well, that was one of my predictions going into it. I don't think it was great, but I was really excited. Um, I think my favorite part of it had to be Owen Wilson, who I was not expecting to play such a good Mobius. Like, it's Owen Wilson. Like, you have like some kind of expectation for him, right? He's like the wow guy. And he plays like weird movies, like from either really weird movies a la like Night at the Museum or really like deep like serious
The
indie
rom
movies like I don't know Midnight in Paris, and then in the middle he's played like Lightning McQueen from the Cars franchise.
Shanghai Night and Shanghai Noon.
Man, I
He's
just
he's
got
either a rom com guy or a comedy guy most of the time. So
yeah
seeing him put up proper acting chops to play someone who's really complex, right? So that was very interesting.
yeah. I think he played like the perfect old grumpy, slightly grumpy, like slightly cheeky cop figure in episode one. And after that, I started to really like his character. But I think episode one for me that was the highlight. For Loki's side, I don't know. The cliffhanger was clearly meant to be like Loki, but I don't know. It wasn't very shocking to me.
Yeah, that's why I said it's like the second weakest episode, right? It sets up the premise, it kind of tells you what's going on, Um, it presents the ultimate theme that is recurring throughout the entire season, which was um, going against fate and what is free will. I think those were the two major themes that was played out in the entire season, right? Can you fight fate, and is there really free will?
Oh,
Yeah,
I have to point out something after my third third rewatch. Okay, in my defense, I watched my first two like viewings in quick succession because I wanted my parents to watch it like week by week. But after I watched the whole thing again with the context of the last few episodes in mind, I realized this really cool thing about episode one. Like, I already like the moment where Mobius and Loki are sitting down and kind of just talking about what makes Loki's character tick. But I realized there's this weird parallel that they draw in the first episode where Loki, they're trying to digest what Loki did in the events of the Avengers, and how he keeps explaining, it's fine being a dictator because every time somebody chooses their own path, it results in destruction. It's always easier to have somebody making like the decisions for you. He was trying to justify him being a dictator, right? And then later on in the episode, like maybe 10 minutes later, he's like, what do you mean I don't have free will? And he's put himself, like, he goes into the role of the people he's trying to conquer after he realizes what it's like to, be at the mercy of somebody telling him to do everything, which is just a really interesting thing in that episode.
Yep.
Wow, did you
And
totally just blank out?
no. I feel that the overarching themes it ties in, right? So episode one ties in very well with episode six, right? And I feel the stakes were really upped when we went to episode two.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so that's when I felt like, okay, Marvel finally has got me interested, you know, because at the end of episode one, we were like thinking, Variant Loki, it could be anyone, lah, right? It could have been anyone exactly. It could have not even been Loki. So, I didn't like that red herring right there. So I thought, Marvel was going to swerve us, but somehow they didn't. They went with the exact narrative that they played out in episode one. And yeah, you want to do a recap of episode two?
Yeah. Okay, episode 2, Loki gets pulled into working for the TVA against his will. Well, he wants to take down the timekeepers, and he thinks that by working with the TVA, he can kind of get there eventually. So he gets pulled in as kind of a Loki expert, being a Loki himself. And he goes on a couple of field missions when he and Mobius, do a bunch of paperwork, and they realize, the variant that we're chasing down, this Loki, is actually hiding in apocalypses, where no matter what you do, the world is gonna explode anyway, so nothing they do matters, which is a really like fun moment when they go to Pompeii and he's unleashing the goats and he's throwing the cabbage.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the end of the episode, they think they've narrowed down where the variant is, but there's another cliffhanger. The variant turns out to be Lady Loki. We don't really know who she is, even until now.
Yeah, we know the name, right? She is Sylvie. But yeah, that's all we have for you.
Yeah, I was expecting to have that mystery solved at the end of the series, but I guess Marvel isn't so kind.
I feel that, they did in a way, right? Again, it feels like a swerve, but I think they will stick with it. We'll come back to who Lady Loki or Sylvie
Yep.
is in a bit. But I felt that in episode two, they spent a lot of budget for some scenes which ultimately lasted for less than 3 to 5 minutes, right? Some scenes are like, especially Pompeii facing apocalypse, right? You have a goat and a cart, yeah, sure, that's cool, right? But a volcano erupting, right? And the entire CG work for that. And then when they went to the future, I forgot where they went, but there was like a T8, F8
Um,
hurricane
they went to Rock's cart, which is, I suppose, the modern equivalent of
of
Target.
Tesco. No,
Tesco. Sorry,
Tesco.
Lotus,
So,
Lotus.
uh, so there was a F8 hurricane. So I think the bigger, even till today, the best, the most cataclysmic hurricane there is F5, I think. And I only know that because there is a pro wrestler who uses the move FI, right? Because it's the most devastating hurricane. And it's, yeah, shout out to Brock Lesnar if he's watching, right? So, anyways, um, so there is a F8 now, and that was the apocalypse. That was basically the apocalyptic event that was going to render that alternate timeline um, non-existent. And just seeing the visual effects for the volcano, for the hurricane, right? That was really impressive because, well, it wasn't utilized as the setting for very long. So the amount of money that they spent just to make that episode look incredible, I think that's what drew me in. I was like, okay, finally Marvel is serious. Drop like some serious budget on these episodes, and the it was not like they dropped the money on a set, where which is basically WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right? It's like somebody's house, right, or the projects, right, or a studio, right, and the laugh reel, the laugh cue, the audience laugh track, none of that. So this was like actual movie, I mean production level um, stuff. So I felt that yeah, that's when Marvel really got me. So overall, like this was the point where it got me like, okay, fine, you got me for Loki.
Here's an interesting bit of trivia though. You know the TVA and that iconic like lift scene where they're going through like countless numbers of like floors and whoa, it's meant to show that the TVA is so huge. That's actually a hotel. Like it wasn't rendered in 3D, it wasn't a green screen, it's an actual hotel, and I know this because they used the exact same hotel in the Hunger Game franchise, the movies.
Wow,
Yeah, and I was wondering why does this look so familiar to me?
that's a interesting tidbit. In
Thank you.
fact, right?
Yeah.
So episode two was really, I think it really began the storyline of Loki and Loki, right? But being a long time Marvel fan, I knew that I couldn't be Loki and Loki. It has to be Loki and some person connected to Loki, right? While the world was like, oh my god, this is like self love, and I wasn't buying it. This is exactly me in Infinity War, when Spider Man was like, Mr. Stark, I don't feel too good, and I was like, and everybody was like, oh my god, Spider Man, blah blah blah, everyone died, and I was like thinking, guys, like, there's no way Marvel is gonna kill Spider Man and half of the heroes in the Avengers because then they got nothing to build on, right? You can't expect for them to do a movie on Nick Fury and
Did people
hopefully
really
people,
think that, that people weren't gonna come back?
yeah, they were like, oh my god, what's going to happen?
No
It's like
way.
every time you watch Iron Man, do you think what's going to happen to Iron Man? Is he going to die at the end? Because he's going to come back, right? He's going to be the hero.
No, the
He's,
excitement is in what trauma they're gonna get after the movie ends.
you mean the process, lah, right?
Yes.
Oh my god.
But let's be real.
And and Marvel always does this. From a really strong episode, right? They jump to a really really slow paced episode that has absolutely zero context in the larger scale of things, which was episode three. Right? And I know that you loved the episode, right? But for me, it didn't move a lot of things.
Wait, I just have one last thing to say about episode 2. And I'm so sad they didn't explore this further, but I love the Mobius and Loki, like, good cop, bad
Yeah,
cop, like, dynamic buddy cop trope.
there was a perfect invention of form and function in the 90s called the jet ski. And right then I was like thinking, you know, if everyone was born in the TVA, how did you know about the jet ski? Yeah, and I'm still waiting for that scene though. They're
I'm
definitely
sure
going to get on a jet ski.
I'm sure if you look through enough Owen Wilson movies, you will find him on a jet ski somewhere. But yeah,
surprisingly enough, nobody has actually done that meme yet, right? I like to go on a jet ski and then you see another version of him, probably another variant, right?
I like to see the variant of Mobius that was like a cowboy in the late, don't know when.
Oh my god.
But yeah,
Yep.
episode 3. Episode 3, okay, not my favorite episode, but I did enjoy it. Like, admittedly, the first time I watched it, I was like, please, this is too much. What happens is a lot of things happen, but they're all kind of random. Basically, at the end of episode 2, Loki follows Sylvie, aka Lady Loki, into the portal that leads them to the TVA, and then they escape to Lamentis by accident. In Lamentis, which takes place in 2077, by the way, which I remember from Cyberpunk,
Wow.
is this moon or this planet that's about to be destroyed by a moon crashing into it, and it's one of the
Yeah.
worst apocalypses that Sylvie has saved on the tempad or the device that the TVA used to transfer transport themselves to different time periods. So they end up there and they're trying to find a way off, but in the process, they kind of just walk around and talk a lot.
Yes.
They like compare their childhoods. They talk about love. Sylvie throws a tantrum. And the episode ends with them not actually being able to escape Lamentis. And they have this like quite beautiful actually arc of hating each other and then learning to like trust each other out of, I guess, necessity.
Yeah, it's more of necessity than anything else because this is the same. I mean, the only standout moment in this episode for me was when they met that old lady, and the old lady
What?
said, Loki said, like, okay, let me show you how it's done, and then takes on the form of the husband and then, like, immediately gets shot, right? I was like thinking, mischief. So beautiful.
But not gonna lie though, I have an entire video essay that I'm about to record after this podcast that's entirely about episode 3. Because
Yeah, I felt that the entire setting, right, that was created for this particular character development arc, including them going on the Star Wars like spaceship, right,
I thought Star Wars too.
and it was really how do I say this? It was really for me. It was just too long, right? They dragged it past the comfort point. Uh, I felt that the song that Loki sang, right, that was funny, but again, right, it felt like all this could have been like done in a better way. Plus, the analogy of using a dagger to describe love was,
Something
um,
out of early 2000s Tumblr.
yeah, probably, uh, and it was really perplexing for me because after such a good episode, they decide to like ultimately slow down the pace, right? And I guess they wanted to magnify the entire Nexus event that causes uh, this whole thing. And it was just weird for me because there's too much dialogue that didn't exactly, you know, uh, that wasn't exactly memorable for me.
So this is like the
But
worst episode for you.
exactly, yeah,
I
it
knew
was.
I knew it from the moment you said episode 1 was like the second worst. I immediately knew that episode 3 was gonna be the worst for you.
Yeah, I know a lot of people like they justify it by like, oh, it's like you get to hear both of them talk and and whatever. And I felt that yeah, you could do a lot of different settings, you know, like you could have done like the whole disguise thing, right? Which they did. That was great, because they had both of them had differing methods on dealing with problems, right? and how they approach situations. That was done meticulously well when that old woman,
Yeah.
that hut with the old woman, and then how they sneak past the guards, which is exactly like Star Wars. These are not the drones you're looking for. There was like a lot of callbacks. I could see where they were headed with it, but ultimately the ones where like they just took too long, and then the train fight scene was also not that inspiring. Yeah, then that's about it. I think that particular 10-minute segment was just too long about them just talking.
I mean, okay, my video essay is titled "Nature versus Nurture" in Marvel's Loki series, right? And I think episode 3 just serves that one purpose. Honestly, it is meant to set them up as parallels to each other. How they're kind of the same person, but not really because of their different childhoods, the different magic that they use, or even their fighting styles. Where Sylvie is really violent for some reason, and Loki is more like, I don't know, he uses the opponent's body weight against each other. Listen to me thinking I know what what I'm talking about when it comes to fighting styles. But
I
I
think
think
it's more
episode
it's
three
more
just,
finesse.
yeah, it just serves that purpose, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, Loki is more finesse. It's like it involves a bit more trickery,
Yeah.
outwitting the opponent.
Yeah.
Sylvie is a bit more brute force, effective strikes, right? And that's the thing. You should have let the and Marvel is known for this. All the writers are a bunch of nerds, so they love that double layering, triple layering thing, which they did so well. So when they sat them down and they forced a conversation, I was like, oh god, why are they doing this? And of course, to me, it occurred that casual people and people with lower understanding capacity, they probably couldn't understand or get what Marvel was trying to pitch, right? So,
Maybe.
right, because I felt that they should have just gone with that entire episode as how they are different, but ultimately they are the same. You know, they should have just gone on with that thing, but the pacing was terrible.
Yeah,
Really,
I
from
have
none
to
of
agree.
running, there's a lot of things. So yeah, episode 3 weakest episode for me, but yeah, from here on it gets good.
Yeah. So episode 3 sets up the one important thing that leads into the second half of the series, which is that all of the TVA agents are actually variants and not created by the timekeepers. So they go into episode 4 with that knowledge. Surprise, surprise, they escape Lamentis. The TVA finds them in the nick of time and rescues them. More like arrest them again. And they bring them into separate questioning rooms. And this episode is kind of a slow reveal of the truth. Both Sylvie and Loki find different ways to tell their captives. Hunter B-15 and Mobius slowly get convinced that they're actually variants, and by the end of the episode, Mobius is breaking out Loki when he gets pruned, and it's just a lot of things happening at once. Like them getting captured, that funny moment with Lady Sif, who we get to see again. Um, yeah, then Mobius gets pruned. They get to actually see the timekeepers. The timekeepers turn out to be fake. It's just like whiplash every turn. This episode couldn't even breathe for a second when I was watching it. And at the end of the episode, Loki gets pruned. So big shock, and then of course the end credits that reveals a whole different side of the story. I think episode 3 is where it really hits home that Sylvie is just a red herring. All this time the TVA was hunting her down. They think that she's the big bad. We all think that she's the big bad of the series, but she's not actually. And it's actually the TVA who's controlling them, and really like the hunt for who the TVA is run by like really starts at episode 4. That's what makes it so exciting. What did you think about it?
Yeah, exactly. Going into the second half of the season, so the focus immediately shifts, right, from character centric plot development towards the bigger picture at hand, right? While they were all focusing on, individual characters, and I haven't mentioned Mobius much, but throughout the first three episodes, I think, especially in episode one, I think Mobius hit Loki very hard, right? And episode two, Loki has been like struggling to um, maintain his relationship and the trust that he already betrayed in episode two, right? When he followed Sylvie through, and so coming back in episode four, right, you can see the strain development of their relationship, but their relationship is tied towards the bigger picture because Loki wants to tell Mobius that he is basically devoid of free will, and this is the famous, do we have free will conversation, right? And Mobius starts to falter, and episode four is, hey, do you know that? Fun fact. Did you
Ooh, I
know
love
that
fun
the
facts.
timekeepers were voiced by Jonathan Majors?
What? But put through
Yes.
different voice filters, is it?
Yeah, three different voice filters.
I love that.
So, but there was no credit because nobody wanted to spoil,
Yeah,
the surprise.
yeah.
So yes.
Oh,
So and that was really cool because when you go back and you hear the voice clip, it kind of yeah, it does have its tone. Just that he just changes it up. And I'm just going to say Jonathan Majors. I'm not going to mention the character just yet. So in episode four, I thought that yeah, they picked it up. The pace picked up really quickly from Hunter B-15, right? Wunmi Musaku. She played a great role.
her
Uh,
her acting in the series is amazing. I really like her.
yeah, because she doesn't get like a lot of scenes where she gets to express herself and whatever. So she has that straight face, that poker face all the time. But you could tell that beneath that she was doing something else. It was pretty similar towards Owen Wilson's acting, quite the parallel. Because there wasn't like a whole lot of slapstick movement with Owen Wilson, which he's practically known for, but rather that he just nods his head and then frowns, right, brings his eyebrows together, and then and then raises his eyebrow, and that's just the range of his acting, but he does it with such believability, right? So that this is so for me that this is the third best episode of the season,
Hmm.
because the shift in tonality, right, and there was a sense of urgency, and the big reveal was supposed to be the timekeepers who ruled over um, the TVA, right? And finally the time variance authority being exposed. It felt honestly like it felt like the Wizard of Oz, right?
Hmm.
It's just
Yeah.
no wizard, right? There's just a man behind the curtain,
Yeah.
and it was like a next level Wizard of Oz because there was no man behind the curtain, right? It was just the curtain. It was like empty, huh? What? Right? And yeah, so I felt that the fight scenes here were more elaborate, like better, right?
Yeah.
And you could finally see the cohesiveness of Sylvie and Loki as a team,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and it was fun seeing Wunmi Musaku, coming in. Hunter B-15, man, like this person doesn't even have a name, right? So like, and she's like doing some badass stuff. So it was pretty cool. I really enjoyed the episode because it this was the episode that literally blew up the entire um, the end game basically. So
Yeah.
like people were trying to do all sorts of theories, right? And this was the episode that you know exploded that particular scene. So yeah,
Yeah. Just I want to talk about my boy Mobius for a little bit.
go ahead, go ahead.
I feel like episode 4 is where we really see like the whole circle of his character. Cause like episode 1, episode 2, he's kind of like a bit snarky, but still the loyal TVA agent. But in episode 4, we see how he reacts when his entire world kind of falls apart. I really like his character for it. Like, instead of, blindly, loyally following the TVA, he starts to question things, and we see this kind of like curious streak follow him, this kind of like scheming side of Mobius that we see, and maybe that's why he gets along with Loki so well. Yeah,
Yeah, it was really funny.
I just really like that they created a character that is not so stuck with his beliefs. I feel like in the MCU we've seen a lot of characters who are praised for really like sticking to their beliefs. I mean, I like Captain America. He's
Yeah, that's
exactly
exactly
like that.
it.
But Mobius, he 100% is able to change, even though he's like, I don't know, 100 years old.
And a lot of people are, this is not going to be the popular opinion, right? Man, Captain America is such a drag, right? Like,
No.
see, I know, it's not the popular opinion, right? And I have never liked Captain America. A lot of people know this, right? However, I can respect whatever that he has developed, and despite him being, a propaganda of sorts, right? Not being a real superhero, but I
Yes.
can actually,
No.
accept all these things that they are actually
Everything you're
doing.
saying is what the first Avenger was not about.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyways,
But yeah,
um,
episode 4, awesome. Any final thoughts on
yeah,
it?
I felt that episode 4 really, if anything, um, just say that you didn't enjoy the first 3 episodes, right? Episode 4 is going to get you going. That's that's my final thoughts on like people who are like on the fence about watching Loki. Honestly, I don't know why you'd be on the fence to just watch it, right? But yeah, this if your previous 3 hours didn't really live up to its hype, episode 4, that 1 hour will knock your socks off.
Yeah. And can we talk a little bit about the end credit scene of episode 4? Because I think
Yeah, which
not a lot of
it kind
people
of
will know.
directly goes into episode 5, right?
Yeah. Yeah, okay, let's just go into it.
Yep.
In the end credits of episode 4, in the beginning of episode 5, we find out that Loki is not really pruned. I guess he is pruned, but instead of dying, his entire body is transported to a void at the end of time, and he wakes up and meets 3 other variants of himself.
4.
4.
Are you fucking
4. Okay, there's boastful Loki, there's original Loki from the comics, there's Kid Loki, my personal favorite, and there's Croaky,
Croaky,
Crocodile
man?
Loki.
How I I take offense that you forgot about Croaky when you just said 3.
Sorry. I
It
mean,
was-
you see like 3 big figures and you don't really see him. It's like at the bottom.
he's wearing the horns.
Someone could have
Like,
put it on him for like as a joke.
doesn't matter, he's still a Loki. Just in crocodile form, right? But yeah, it's still. I don't understand why reptiles don't get the respect that they deserve.
Hey, I
Even in the
like
Marvel
Throg,
universe.
okay? Thor Frog.
Yeah, he's an amphibian, by the way.
Eh,
Okay,
close
fine. I,
enough.
I see you don't like the animal kingdom. Yeah, okay, go on.
Fine, I'm gonna brush this off. Episode 5, what else happens? Loki
Amos
finds
gonna get
himself stuck at the
angry.
void at the end of time. He follows the other Lokis and finds out, that there is this giant cloud monster named Eliath, consuming
Yep.
everything in that void slowly. So they are just living in fear, running away from that monster. Loki decides to stand up and fight against it. And then through like on his journey, he meets other Lokis, including President Loki, Ruffian
Which
Loki.
which a lot of people, right, have the hots for, right? All the girls, right? All no matter who you are, right? Um, yeah, just don't deny it. There's a lot of girls that just really thirst for President
This is what
Loki.
I
They
don't
they like the
understand. Okay,
energy.
people
Yeah,
like Loki. Okay, I just found this out. All right, I'm not like I wasn't a Loki fan. I was a Cap fan. So I just found out like why people like Loki, which is that he's a villain. Uh, I
He's
started to
like a,
like Loki in the series, like whoa, he has so much character development. He's emotional. He's in touch with his feelings, and I'm like, I like that. I get it now. Then I find out that people like President Loki.
I mean, you can't diss the characters that people like, right? So it's one way or another.
Anyway, he meets all these other Loki variants. There are hijinks. We find out that Sylvie is trying to get her way to the void as well to find out where the timekeepers are. She prunes herself, gets into the void where she meets Mobius, who also isn't pruned. He's just transported there. We covered this already. And then all of them kind of team up to face Eliav. And they decide to enchant him. And they actually manage to successfully enchant him, but with the help of original Loki, who conjures Asgard. A lot of things happen. But I think this was probably my favorite episode of Loki. I think so, yeah.
For me, it's the. I feel for me it's the second best episode.
The
If
finale is the best, is it?
yeah, finale is the best, but I felt that this is the second best episode. But before the finale and before I critically thought about it, yeah, number five seems to be the best episode because there's like the trajectory of the entire show just shifts, right? And the balance of the show is um, thrown, off balance. Um, and I feel that the episode itself is like a living testament to fans. It's like the biggest fan service, right? Because you have Croaky, you have like boastful Loki,
Yeah.
right? Boastful Loki is just basically black Loki. Um, and then you have original Loki, which Richard Grant played to a very emotional front.
So good.
I was really surprised because I didn't expect original Loki to be so emotional. And you have different approaches that each Loki will take, but all of them are treacherous and all of them are traitorous, except for Kid Loki, who has a very good background. And I'm not entirely sure why, but he has that commanding respect within the other Lokis,
Don't you
including
remember?
original Loki.
He
And
killed Thor.
yeah, he's and that was that was like one of the great moments in that episode because our Loki was like wondering like, he's just a kid, why are you paying so much attention to this guy? And he said, you better put some respect on his Nexus event. And Loki was like, yeah, what could have been his Nexus event that is so great and blah blah blah. And said that yeah, his Nexus event is that he killed Thor. And I was like, all right,
Yeah.
put some respect, right? And you know that this kid Loki, again, fun fact for those of you who don't know, he's going to be part of the Young Avengers. So yeah, from what that has been alluded so far, um, you have Wiccan, you have
Wait. There's gonna be a lot of young. I have a huge Young Avengers section. Let's just talk about that later.
wow. Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
So yeah, so that's the fun fact, right? Loki is going to be in the Young Avengers. Um, this episode was great. Another great moment was Sylvie and Mobius driving through, you know, uh, that whole catastrophe, right? The winds blowing. They were chased by a Goliath, right? And you could see the Sphinx. Okay, you could see the Sphinx. You could see the Kang Tower. You could see so many Marvel references. Like I said, it was just 100% fan service thing, right? And
The
it was
Thanos
just
copter.
sorry.
The Thanos helicopter.
Yeah, that was another thing, right? Um, it was really cool because seeing Mobius being in such a kanchong position, like, and Sylvie was like hacking orders, right? It was again the mirror of the show, right? Because Mobius and Loki are two different characters, right? Sylvie and Loki are two different characters, despite them being the same, almost. And then you have Mobius and Sylvie, who are two different people with different sets of beliefs who are brought into the same place because one believes that her destiny is to destroy the TVA, and one believes that his destiny is to be with the TVA always. And it's funny that in that situation that you have Sylvie commanding Mobius to do, you know, stuff because both of them got pruned, right? Yeah, of course, Sylvie self pruned herself, but it was really interesting in that dynamic. And let's talk about probably the greatest moment in the episode was when Mobius hugged, no, Loki hugged Mobius, and that was probably the greatest moment. Um, and that kind of like
We
establishes.
clearly think of like the different. We clearly have different greatest moments.
Um, I felt that because Loki has never had a friend before, right? Because Thor was always overbearing, right? Thor was always, oh, Odin has done this, right? Little brother, you're such a scumbag, right? And Lady Sif, like, still thinks that he's a scumbag, right, for cutting her hair off, which comes into play into Norse mythology, by the way. But yeah, I'm
Matrix
not
says
going to get into
wow.
that. Sorry?
Matrix says wow.
Yeah, it's Lady Sif comes into the Norse mythology. That particular event, right, really kicks off a lot of things that has to do with Ragnarok and Yogamander. But I'm not going to go into God of War territory here. But it was really a beautiful moment for me because Loki has never had a friend, and Mobius treated him as an equal. Um, another another one tied for best moment for me was when old Loki created a projection and illusion of Asgard, which
Yeah.
was really sad because um, that was probably his Asgard, right? That he raised, and that entire place was so big and whatever, and he was the lone ruler, right? So you could have guessed that that was exactly how he ruled Asgard alone, because he was the one that tried to break away from fate's machinations, right? And it was really sad. So when he sacrificed himself, he raised his reality to be eaten by a lion.
So
I
sad.
mean, yeah, indeed. So that's why the emotional part really didn't hit until and of course Kid Loki presenting um, the dagger to our Loki. That was pretty cool as well.
Okay, I think we have slightly different interpretations of episode 5. I mean, clearly because you read all the comic books, you know the comic book history, and I'm just like reading it up as the series goes along. Although I do think I know more than the average casual fan.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm not a Loki fan as well. If you want to talk about like the best runs Loki has had, is probably now, which is Agent of Asgard,
Not
and
even
he has never been like a
Kid
popular
Loki?
character. Sorry,
You don't like Kid Loki?
trust me, in the comic books, right, it's very different from how they portray it in the series. And if you want to talk about Thor, yeah, then Thor, yes, he has had like great runs, like with Jason Aaron and Esad Ribic. These were like great stories, God of Thunder, even the Natalie Portman one, right, which is um,
Coming soon.
Love. Yeah, it's coming soon, Love and Thunder,
Yeah.
right? It's that story is great as well. So Thor has actually like great source material to work on, but Loki, not so much.
I think episode 5 was a good tribute to like what Loki's character has been in the MCU. Like it brings up like a lot of appreciation from in me, but also a lot of questions for Sylvie, because in episode 5 or even like in the MCU in general, we know that Loki's primary relationship, the one that like is basically the foundation, right, of Loki as we know it, is Thor. And we see like Thor plays a part in every single other Loki variant's like relationship, like how original Loki misses Thor. I'm gonna just discount boastful Loki here because he doesn't talk about it. But even like Kid Loki, even though he kills Thor, like that's still, the fact that he killed his brother being his Nexus event is just, it tears at my heart. And we know that it's
Oh,
Thor and Asgard as well, where they grew up, that holds like, has a soft spot in this cold like Loki heart. So when we see original Loki like bring back Asgard, it's so emotional because not just he missed Asgard, but because Asgard is a fundamental like Loki, it's part of Loki's core. So it
yeah,
also brings up the question of Sylvie, because Sylvie was taken away from Asgard so soon. She like barely remembers it, and she never mentions like any sort of relationship with Thor, which is one of the main points as to why she might not actually be Loki. But I
yeah.
also hope
She
they like,
she was a variant.
hmm?
She was a variant,
Yeah.
and
So
and
I'm
I
not
keep telling you,
sure.
I keep telling a lot of people she is not Loki. It's like she's not.
I
Like,
know you don't think she's Loki, but like we didn't get any answers, right? She might be a Loki. There might be some like kid Thor running around in her past, or maybe she
yeah,
is Thor, or maybe Thor like died in her timeline. We
yeah.
don't know.
Here's a question for you. Do you think in boastful Loki's universe, right? Thor is black
He might not be,
because sorry,
he might not be because they're not like actually related.
blood related, right?
Yeah,
So that
but
means
also wait,
um,
but I also feel like Odin would turn Thor like Loki into at least the same skin color because he wanted Loki to blend in, right?
correct. And Loki is a frost giant, right? Frost
Yeah,
giants are blue in
yeah.
nature, right? So yeah, in boastful Loki's universe, Thor is black. Just think about that.
Odin is also black then.
Yeah, she should be black. So
Oh,
that's an interesting universe,
huh.
and that's the other thing. When it comes to alternate universes and variants, um, you really don't know which character had which events happen to them,
Yeah.
right? So that's where the whole uncertainty is. And Elias apparently is a nexus being.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So across all universes, Elias is Elias. He will, yeah, and I'll get to Elias in a bit. But fun fact,
Yay, fun
the
fact.
TVA, the reset charge,
Uh-huh.
the purple smoke that comes in.
People think that it's the Ant-Man thing, is
No,
it?
that is the essence of Elias to
Oh,
wipe out the alternate timeline.
that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Fun fact.
So they just like,
Yep. So that once, so it's basically essence of Elias, and Elias
oh
eats
my
everything,
god.
right? So yeah, basically it becomes part of Elias at the end of time.
Hmm, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I think
indeed.
like the other part of episode 5 that really stood out for me was Loki's full circle like hero transformation. Yeah. Like I'm just a sucker for it lah. Like I don't care if it's a dagger or a sword or whatever. The fact that he was presented like instead of his twin daggers, he was presented a sword, and he puts it in like a scabbard, and
It's just a slightly longer dagger, right?
I
It's
don't
not
care.
exactly.
You know the symbolism. You know it was meant to like represent him becoming a hero.
Yeah, I mean, as opposed to Mjolnir, right? And there was Throg in this episode.
Yes.
Oh, another fun fact, right? Throg's voice
I
was
know this.
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
voice. More like him
yeah,
just yelling and grunting.
yeah. But yeah, it's fun knowing that across all dimensions, right? Thought sounds the same. He'll have that voice, and yeah, I felt that. So your greatest moment is when Loki was handed the sword, is it?
uh, okay, I have two moments. Okay, three moments. The sword, the illusion of Asgard, right? Those two are just, basic. But I think the other moment I like is when original Thor, Kid Thor, and Mobius are sitting around and they're staring at Croaky and they're like, You don't remember him? He's like, oh no, we've pruned a lot of Lokis, but never an alligator. But also it leads to that really nice conversation about how, they're asking Mobius how he can just turn around and go against everything he's lived for so far. And he says there's there's always time to change. It's never too late to change. And I think that's so indicative of Mobius' character. I really like it.
And for me, it's yeah, definitely the part where Loki hugs Mobius is it's a very beautiful thing. And yeah, it will still be my greatest moment at episode 5, I think, because it is something that you will never see Loki do,
Yeah.
even in the comics, right? It's something that Loki has. I don't think he has ever done it, like hug someone, like out of like pure emotion. So
Maybe his
I mean, the
brother in
mother,
the MCU.
yeah, mother, father,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about someone who is outside of that, and that has a lot of like filial duty attached to it, because
Sure.
they took in like an adopted son and etc. etc. But this is like a genuine connection, and that's exactly why. And come on, man, they're both like witty characters, right? So it's really funny when both of them sit down and like have a banter about something. So that is exactly that's actually one of the highlights of episode 2 as well, because it didn't feel so dreadfully long, like how Sylvie and Loki were talking to each other. But when when Mobius and Loki sit down and talk about it, like including how he took the salad, so he just
Not
poured
the
it over.
salad. No.
It was so entertaining. But I felt that episode 5 was yeah, I would still say it's the second best episode, mainly because episode 6 is phenomenal. Like finally Marvel didn't decide to like rain on our parade, right? And like, douse us with cold water after like so much of like build up. Because I was having this conversation with you, right? And I
Yeah.
told like the most expected ending for Loki, at the end of time, and when they go into the castle, right? They're going to find that, yeah, hello, hi, my name is Loki, and I'm the villain of this show, and that's why it's called Loki, right? Like this is classic Marvel, because thanks to WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right? You can't just expect anything, right? Like Marvel does not deliver big surprises unless it's a movie, right, or movie scale event. But yeah, so I was really happy when uh, they reveal who the big bad was, and with that, I think we can go to episode 6.
Well, hope it's the thing with feathers. I told you they weren't going to do a Loki, Loki as the villain because it would be so lame. And I'm so thankful that they didn't. In episode 6, basically they managed to enchant Alioth. So Sylvie and Loki have this end of Wizard of Oz moment where they walk through Alioth and into God knows where. But basically
Fine.
where the final timekeeper is, or whoever is at the root of this, who created TBA, right? And they're about to knock in. The door opens, they go in. Miss Minute like has this like jump scare moment, which everybody has turned into a trend. By the way, there's just Miss Minute's jump scare everywhere. I tell you, like I can't go into TikTok and be safe anymore. But anyway, Miss Minutes tries to have this like, there's always the moment where they try and tempt the heroes, tell them we can give you everything you wanted, and they say no, and then they move on. And the lift doors open, and there's this glorious moment where we see Jonathan Majors sitting in the elevator, and I swear to God, I scream so hard. And this is because I think every Marvel fan knows that Jonathan Majors was cast to be Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. So seeing him there, it's definitely Kang, right? And as we go on, and they have this conversation with him, they definitely allude to this very obviously by saying, he says, I go by a lot of names. I am a dictator. I am a conqueror. And everybody's just, oh, yes.
Jerk, right?
Jerk. Yeah, but it turns out that he's not actually Kang. And he's kind of this mismatch of a comic book character called He Who Remains, who is a TVA agent at the end of time, mismatched with Immortus, who is a Kang the Conqueror variant. So he's trying to bargain with the two of them to take over his job, and they have this like Sylvie and Loki have this fight about whether they should or not, because if they kill him, it would unleash like several infinite versions of Kang for them to fight. Versus if they just take over his job, they can make sure that things go smoothly, but their way, right? So that is the crux of the moral decision in episode 6, the finale. But at the same time, there's all these other things going on, like how Mobius is going back to the TVA. Together with Hunter B-15, they're alerting all the TVA agents of the truth. All that. The episode ends with Sylvie betraying Loki. Loki gets kicked into a different version of the TVA where Mobius doesn't know him. And what happens? Oh, right. Sylvie kills Kang. Sorry, my sister. Sylvie kills Kang and unleashes the multiverse of madness. Ta-dang! Hooray!
Yeah, actually, the ending scene was I think you got the sequences slightly mixed up. Sylvie
I
kills.
didn't. I watched it 3 times.
Yeah. Sylvie kills He Who Remains first, and then we see that when Sylvie kicked Loki using the tempad, he ends up in a universe where when he comes and tells Hunter B-15 and Mobius, they don't recognize him, and the final scene of the entire season is that you see a giant statue of Kang.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Oh
the
yeah.
ending.
I was referring to the Kang variant, you know. She kills the Kang variant. And
Which
he gets
is
booted into a timeline where Kang the Conqueror is the primary timekeeper. Or is the overlord, you know. One of these things.
yeah, and for me, I felt that this is the best episode mainly because Marvel decided to give us what we want, which was give the fans what they wanted, right? Because casuals will be like looking at Jonathan Majors like, who's this guy, right? Never seen this guy in Marvel universe before, and a lot of people don't know Jonathan Majors unless you have watched Lovecraft Country, right? Which is an excellent show, right?
It's so
Uh,
good.
yeah, which blends history and sci-fi. It's two things that don't really blend well together, but somehow they managed to do it. And it was produced by J.J. Abrams and Jordan Peele, right? Showrunner was Natasha, I think. I
Michael
totally
Green.
forgot what's it. Huh?
Michael Green, I think.
No, showrunner was this lady.
Oh, Michael Green is
God,
the overall writer, right?
yeah, overall writer,
Mm.
but the showrunner was a lady. She's very famous for doing all these things. And yeah, so once you had this level of surprise, where Jonathan Majors is actually Kang, right? And he has disclosed in an interview that the mannerisms that he played for He Who Remains, which is basically Immortus, right? All the fun fact, all the clothes that he wore comes from a different time period. So that cloak that he wore,
Yeah.
that is basically episode one's. When he falls into the desert, and the Mongolian people find him there. They are also wearing cloaks, so that is from there. The pants is from
Cool.
Genghis Khan's era. The shoes are from a Mongolian era of some sort. His shirt. So he's basically like an amalgamation of fashion across the times, right? And the color scheme is 100% exactly accurate to Immortus, but the character is He Who Remains. And I feel that um, while some people would say like his monologue was boring and whatever, I say that there's a lot of depth into this because this is basically the beginning of Phase 4's big villain, right? And it was so easy to see that it was the level of it, the magnitude of this villain is really crazy, right? And the fight scenes was, I think this is the most pronounced fight scene because you have like some magic and it's not just all physical. And there was also like conversation in between the fight, and it was two people who didn't get along, kind of got along, right? Understood each other, and at the end realized that what they understood about each other was uh, basically in different directions. You know, they understood both each other, but their directions were totally different. And one couldn't, give up her notion of destiny, and the other one wanted to change uh, their notion of destiny. And all in all, you had Jonathan Majors, which is basically Kang, tell the layers and how the universe works, um, and how the entire thing has played out so far. And in the interview itself, Jonathan Majors said that how he played He Who Remains, the mannerisms and the clothings and whatever, will be totally different to how he plays Kang the Conqueror in Ant Man.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yes, that is testament towards his acting chops. So, and not only that, when they first got into that castle, right, the castle at the end of time, if you realize there's three time variant keepers, right? Sorry, three timekeepers, and there's the fourth statue that's been broken. So
Mm.
that is a fourth timekeeper. Uh, this is all comic book lore, right? But the fact that it was destroyed, meaning that they're going to continue it on at some point, right?
Yeah.
And that is Siva the Oracle, I think.
Oh.
And they will definitely do it sometime down the road as like a savior, that comes in to help, etc., etc. But this builds up quite nicely for Secret War. It really sets the
Secret
stage for it.
Invasion, is it?
Yeah, Invasion. No, no, no. Secret Wars. Secret Invasion is totally different. Secret Invasion is when everyone you know is a Skrull.
Right.
Ugh.
Wait, then what's Secret Wars?
Secret Wars is the one where that you remember Skrull. The Skrulls have like three things here. So um Secret Invasion is when the Skrulls like they took over. Like when Wolverine died, they found out that it's not Wolverine, it's a Skrull. So the real Wolverine was somewhere else, and Captain Marvel was a Skrull, and it was really weird. But it kind of worked. Secret Wars is the good one, right? Michael Bendis wrote it. It was basically foreshadowed by He Who Remains himself, when he said that he unleashed a dimensional war. You remember? They
Multiversal
fought.
War. Yeah.
Yeah, that is basically Secret Wars.
Oh, okay.
Variants of yourself fight to protect your timeline. This is some Dragon Ball level stuff, lah. But it makes total sense once you wrap your head around. And I think a lot of people don't know this, right? And in law, Kang the Conqueror comes from Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Like he is original, yeah. He's like one of the big nemesis of Avengers, right? Because he can time travel, obviously. But the character Kang the Conqueror came from um, Fantastic Four, and he is the relative or the descendant of
Isn't
Reed
he?
Richards.
Yeah. Isn't he Reed Richards' son, or just somewhere down the line?
Yeah, somewhere down the line, lah, right? Because Reed Richards' son is Franklin Richards. Franklin Richards is the guy who can. He's he's the most powerful guy in the Marvel universe. He literally has all the powers in the world. He can warp reality. He can change
He has his
people, etc.,
mother's and
etc.
his father's powers, lah.
No, no, his father's powers is pretty funny, right? Because he can just stretch.
Elastical, lah.
Yeah, and his mom can become invisible, but
I mean, when you
his
think
powers.
about it, Kamala Khan is also elastical.
it's funny that you should say Kamala Khan because there's an alternate version of Kang called Kamala Kang. I'm not joking about this. Like there is Kamala Kang, and she has both her powers. She has Kang's power, right, of time travel,
but
and
she
her
can
ability
also
to shapeshift.
stretch.
No, shapeshift.
I mean,
So,
okay,
so
continue.
Kang's power. A lot of people don't know this. Kang's power is that he's just immensely smart,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he has
he's
that
an
suit
Iron
which is
Man
like Iron Man.
character. He
Yeah,
just
he's
has
an
a
Iron Man
crazy
character.
like suit.
Yeah, so when Kang comes in, this affirms Fantastic Four's involvement, right? Because one of the variants of Kang. So remember when I told you about the Sphinx earlier? So the Sphinx is basically a nod to one of Kang's variants
Yeah,
called Ramatat.
literally
Like,
like a pharaoh, right?
yeah, he's a pharaoh, right? And he was, I think in one of the comics that I read, early on, right? It was really funny when people did storylines for comic books, right? 'Cause they just did it for the lulz, right? So it's like, oh, Fantastic Four trapped in, Ramatat's age of
Pyramid.
despair, and then like they had to like carry all these pyramid blocks and whatever, right? And while I was reading it, while it was like, it was like a trip down ecstasy lane, right? But it was just funny because that actually became canon because Ramatat was Kang, right,
Oh,
who traveled back in time to rule, um, the Egyptian era. And it's interesting to note that Kang himself is a megalomaniac, right? He has tyrant tendencies. So he who remains is basically like the one offshoot, like how Doctor Strange did that whole thing, right? And he who remains is basically the one offshoot of a good version of Kang. So
I
Kang,
just
yeah, there's
I feel like I
like
have to
there's Richard
interject
Kang.
here. He who remains in the comics, I believe, is actually a TVA agent. Like he is the last TVA agent, and there's not much to know about him, if I'm not mistaken. But in the
He who
MCU, they've
remains,
combined him with Kang.
he who remains is actually a version of Kang,
Oh,
right? Um, but they are not going to disclose that, right? Because Immortus is supposed to be the guy who's controlling things. So it's very convoluted, but apparently, like when he who remains finds out about this, right? Um, he basically sends a alternate version of himself to the past to create the TVA.
wait. Oh, sorry. Continue. I thought you were talking about something else.
Yeah, ultimately it's not really important, but it's kind of a loop, where he sets up that timekeepers and then eventually you will continue. So
Yeah.
that was the convoluted part about it, but I hope that they don't follow down that route. But I strongly feel that instead of making Kang a descendant of Reed Richards, I feel that they will make him a descendant of Tony Stark.
No. Okay. Wait. Can I say my theory first?
Go ahead.
Okay. I think that every single thing that's been announced in phase 4 so far, ending with what's the last movie? I don't know, Guardians of the Galaxy or something. Whatever. All of the movies so far, the Hawkeye series, Kamala Khan, they're gonna have a second Captain Marvel, Multiverse of Madness. All of these are just setting up the Young Avengers. This is like a theory that you and I have had for a long time, right? And it's very clear that it's happening at the moment, really, because we have all the key players, right? There's gonna be, you were gonna mention earlier,
Wiccan.
Wiccan, Speed, who are Wanda's kids. There's gonna be Kamala Khan, obviously, Miss Marvel. There's the Patriot from
Patriot.
the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series. There will be Kid Loki, who I'm very excited to see. I really like the actor's portrayal. I can't wait to see him come back. But there's also gonna be
Iron Lad.
Iron Lad, exactly. So I think they're going to follow the Iron Lad story, which is Nathaniel Richards. I think they will still maintain Nathaniel Richards because Phase 4 already kind of teased bringing back Fantastic Four. So this will be the
Sorry,
perfect
it's
tie-in.
confirmed.
Yeah. Oh,
Fantastic Four is confirmed. There's
okay.
no tease about it.
Then there's no need for him to be an Iron Man descendant. Then he can be a Fantastic Four. Reed Richards. God, his name.
Yeah, Reed Richards'
Reed
son, right?
Richards descendant. Yeah. So he basically goes back into the past, which is our present in the MCU, says that, oh, I'm afraid I'm gonna become Kang. And then he finds like the desecrated body of Vision, which is a perfect way to tie Vision in back, by the way. And finds out that there are these, it's another like first Avengers movie scenario where he finds that there are all these young Avengers who have these powers who have yet to be discovered, and he brings, like a la Nick Fury, brings the young Avengers together, and this will happen like maybe 2 years later, like 2 years later
Yeah,
from now.
it really depends on which version of the Young Avengers. There's also the Hulkling, right? Who's a Skrull,
Yes,
right?
so
Uh,
that might be brought in from Secret Invasion, which will be a TV show,
no. It probably most
or
likely
Captain
coming from
Marvel.
Eternals. Maybe. But here's a fun fact about the Eternals, right? We don't know who the big bad is, but my strong guess is Ramathat,
No.
because Eternals, right? And Kang is Eternal.
Yeah.
So I strongly feel that the Phase 4 villains are just Kang in different versions of himself,
It makes
right?
sense. It makes sense.
And apparently, if you play, fun fact, if you play WandaVision episode, the last episode,
Yes.
and Loki's last episode in tandem, right? The exact moment where Scarlet Witch gets a power, right? And that is the exact moment where the end of time passes its threshold.
Yeah.
That's when Jonathan Majors drops the thing, and then he's like, huh? Right? And
Because
then
Wanda is a
he realizes,
Nexus being.
yeah. So basically, he doesn't know what's going to happen anymore. And that
Yeah.
is basically the entire, the entire uh, metaphor, that he has lost control of time and the rise of the Scarlet Witch, which is
Yeah.
basically a Nexus being.
So I think that for all the movies coming, they're going to portray Kang as the bad guy, of course. Then there's going to be this big young Avengers reunion, like not reunion, like assemble moment, that changes the public's perception of Kang. That he's actually just Iron Lad, and Iron Lad is fearful of his future and who he's gonna become. And we get to see like in the MCU his slow descent into becoming Kang. That would be so cool. But it sounds
Yeah,
like Phase 5 stuff, honestly.
yeah. So, but I feel that this is basically the tie-in to Phase 5,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, Kang was definitely going to be like one of the big bads, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the bigger bad in this situation is going to be Doctor Doom. While Doctor Doom has been like, they have literally undermined his character to be like some soft puppy, right? Doom is a dastardly villain, right? And
His name is kind of lame.
he's the guy who made a, just so you know, Doctor Doom, right? He made a deal with the devil, Mephisto, right, to sell his mother's soul, right, just so he can get mystical powers. That's how dastardly Doom is, right? And
Couldn't he have
it's going
chosen
to be
like a better supervillain name for himself?
Doctor Doom. Yeah, Doom is a perfect name because he kind of embodies what he is, right? He invokes doom in those who face him,
I know,
and
but I don't know. It's just
so
too direct. I wish he had like a mysterious name.
mysterious Doom. So
Doctor
uh,
Mysterious.
um, so Doctor Doom is going to be definitely in Phase 5, right? Once Fantastic Four comes in, and this will allude to Reed Richards being in the universe. Of all the IPs that I needed Marvel to get back, it was actually Fantastic Four because it alludes to Galactus being in,
Mm.
and Galactus is definitely going to be a big bad, right? And Galactus is the end all be all. And there's one, of course, after Galactus, I think that's when the X-Men universe will actually kickstart, and
Sounds
then you will
right.
have the bad guys being. I think Phase One will be Magneto, right? Homo superior man, Magneto fan here, right?
I
Um,
know.
After that, you will get probably Mister Sinister, and finally you will get Onslaught. So Kang is involved in all of that, right? He has played some small part in all of these things happening because he's a time traveler, and his nature of time traveling is that whenever he time travels, he creates an alternate timeline, and all of his variants are dangerous. So we will definitely see how Marvel shapes up the universe, especially after they got back the X-Men and Fantastic Four franchises. That's going to be amazing.
I just need to see James McAvoy as Professor X again.
Yeah, so basically that is going to happen sometime soon because now you have variants,
Yeah.
and the big thing for Spider-Man No Way Home,
Yeah.
I feel is that they're going to introduce Garfield and Tobey Maguire.
Don't call him Garfield. The
Andrew
first thing I
Garfield.
thought of was the orange cat. Andrew Garfield, come on.
Yeah, yeah. I shouldn't have sullied Garfield's name like that, right? Because clearly Garfield is the superior character.
Wow. He only likes lasagna and sleeping.
Hey man, he also forces Odie to be productive, right? And he keeps John sane. So yeah, I felt that. That's why I felt that this um, season finale of Loki really set up a lot of things. And moving forward towards season two, I feel that he's gonna go through that same motion again. He will get out of the time, the play in the alternate universe that he's displaced in. He get out of it. Um, and I think the big reveal on season two will be what happens after Multiverse of Madness,
Makes
because
sense.
filming is set to be in 2022 January, so they will definitely release it by before November.
Filming of Loki?
Loki season two
I don't know where I read this, but I saw that they have a 2023 release date. Maybe I
could
just
be in
imagined
January,
it.
lah. Could be January 2023.
Makes sense.
But so far, all the series have never taken longer than a year.
So I'm thinking, right, my prediction for Loki season 2, I think it's gonna be really difficult to see where it picks off from the movie timeline. It'll totally depend on when the series actually comes out. Then we'll know which movies events actually affect season 2. So I'm not gonna predict that, but I do agree that in season 2, Loki's definitely gonna try to find a way to get back to that timeline where Mobius actually knows him. And if he fails, he will try to convince that, like, his timelines Mobius to, you know, um, be on his side, like be his friend again. I think the biggest theme of season 2 is gonna be him and Sylvie, and how their relationship kind of evolves into a teacher-student-ish relationship. Because I feel like the end of season 2 sets up Sylvie as somebody who has a lot left to grow, right? Whereas Loki kind of has finished his character arc, which a lot of fans are angry about. But I think it perfectly sets up him being, a guide to her moving forward. Like in the last moments before she kicks him into the portal, he already says, I have been where you were, it's not worth it. I think that he will try to find his way back to Sylvie to help her. I think that's what's gonna happen in season 2. But of
I
course,
feel
it
that,
might change. He's supposed to come. He's been casted for Multiverse of Madness, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I feel that the major theme in season two will be definitely because in season one it's like fighting destiny, and what of free will. So season two will be, so now that you fought destiny, how do you shape your destiny,
Yeah.
right? What are you going to do to shape your destiny, right? And how are you using free will? So that's going to be the big theme because he has already finally broken out of the TVA, right? Because that's the big authority figure that he wanted to dismantle in
Yeah.
the first place. He couldn't even believe it, right? Because it's funny that a lizard would be controlling everyone. Yeah, it seems funny that Charizard will be the ruler at the end of time
Wow.
because Charizard's a lizard. But yeah, it's really funny because now that he has done it, right, he's like in a place where he doesn't know anything, right? Like everything that he has done has been not because of the actions of his partner. So now the biggest question will be what happens once you have free will,
Yeah.
right? So are you going to be responsible or you can choose to walk away from it all? So I think that's where the redemption arc comes in, where he chooses to be responsible. So, this is the full coming of arc of him being a hero. That's exactly what I expect in season 2.
I would love if he kind of went down a Kid Loki sort of path, which is why I like Kid Loki. I'll get into that. Uh, but I mean, I read that Kid Loki kind of spends his entire life kind of redeeming himself, trying to be a good guy, trying to go against his what everybody thinks of him as a Loki. I would love to see like our MCU Loki to going through that path. Of course, I would love to see Kid Loki go through that path too. I guess TLDR, I would love to see that path for Loki in general. I think everybody's reached a point where they don't really trust him, and they kind of trust him, but everybody has like mixed feelings about it. I would love to see him redeem himself to all of the hero characters.
I mean, I just want to see more of Croaky and
Wow.
his adventures. So
Wow.
that's going to be. I mean, come on, that's going to be really interesting. Okay.
I mean, do you think they'll do a Pet Avengers series? Because it is a thing.
Yeah, because DC is doing that one,
What?
and DC's pet superhero is being led by Dwayne Johnson.
What?
Crypto, Crypto has won the
No,
Legion
I
of
didn't
Super
even know
Pets.
that DC was doing a pet series.
I shared this, in the group.
I don't
I
remember
think you,
this.
yeah, the the voice talent is stacked. I mean, the main actor is Dwayne Johnson. There's a few others who are really renowned.
Man, he's like literally fighting against Vin Diesel, who voices Groot. It's like I can be a wrestler and voice something too.
I mean, he did voice, for Disney, right? Moana. He did voice.
Yeah, but he voices a
Uh,
human. Groot is a
yeah, and
tree.
yeah. I mean, it's not really hard to be Groot, right? Your script isn't exactly,
Yeah,
sophisticated.
but he puts all of his emotion into I am Groot.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure it's captivating and bewildering at the same time. But don't forget that Dwayne Johnson is also playing Black Adam.
Yes, 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 yes. We don't know when that's coming out, right?
2023.
Oh, oh, that's kind of far away.
Yeah, I mean everything seems far away when you're in the pandemic, right?
Not really.
So I
Shang-Chi
mean
is
time.
coming out in like a month.
I mean like time flows in a different manner. But yeah, that's exactly what I have for episode 6, and that's exactly my thoughts on the Loki series as a whole.
Yeah.
You know, it was really a good one, and it's definitely the best out of all series Marvel has produced so far.
Yeah. I guess I just have one final question for you, just to wrap it up before we end the podcast. Which MCU IP, TV series, or movie are you looking forward to the most next?
It's a very good question. MCU movie has to be Fantastic Four,
Really? It's not even
uh,
announced
or
yet.
Secret Wars maybe. The
It's
reason, I
not
mean,
even
I
announced
can say
yet.
X-Men, but X-Men is not on the card. Um,
Please, we're gonna have to wait like 10 years for X-Men because I really don't know how they're gonna do it. They're gonna have to frame it around somebody else than somebody other than Wolverine.
I mean, they're just gonna see that one of the variants in the alternate timelines, right? And then they should bring them over, lah. But the one thing that I feel that the reason why I want to see Fantastic Four so badly is because we all know how bad Fantastic Four is. So I want to see how good Fantastic Four is in the hands of Marvel.
I
That's
mean,
it.
we have a Marvel. We have two Marvel like versions of Fantastic Four.
That's not Marvel.
Don't we
That's
have
Fox.
one?
No, we don't. We have zero.
Wait, which was
Both
the
were my
Chris Evans version?
that was the Fox version lah.
Oh my gosh! I didn't know.
Yeah, it was all bad. Even the Silver
I
Surfer was bad.
kind
Everything.
of
The
like the
only thing
first
good,
one.
the only thing good about that series is Jessica Alba, right?
Jessica
So
Alba, come on. Chris Evans, come on.
yeah, you see, this is the problem, right? So nobody's talking about the story or how great it is. Uh, Let me just tell you, a Fantastic Four story. If Ben Grimm is not the best thing because he's the thing, right? It's a bad Fantastic Four movie. It's clobbering time.
What
So
about
yeah, that's it.
TV? Oh, what about
So
TV series?
TV series. Um, Honestly, I don't really have a lot of expectations for TV series. But if you like, if I had to name one, I guess it'll be Young Avengers. If they actually decide to make it into a
You're
series,
saying things that are not even things yet.
okay, fine, Mandalorian. It's like under the sea.
Aw.
Really, I have no expectations for TV series because I know Marvel is gonna pull one under me. So very bad expectations.
I guess I guess for TV series it has to be Hawkeye for me because I am really curious about that Hawkeye run of comic books. I can't remember for the life of me. I can't remember the writer.
David Archer. Yeah,
It's like got
that's
a
the good
purple
Hawkeye
cover.
run.
It's got like a purple cover.
Yeah. It's David Archer.
Yeah, I'm really.
Oh, okay. Sorry, David Archer is the artist. It's Matt Fraction.
Yes. I'm really curious to see what version of Hawkeye that would be, and I'm really excited to see Kate Bishop.
Yeah, Katie Bishop. Like I said, right? Um, I mean, like I said to you, lah, I'm not the biggest Avengers fan. I always thought the Avengers are overrated, right? Overrated. The best superheroes in the Marvel universe are the X-Men. Full stop, right?
Hey,
Anyone
I
who thinks
I
that
would be excited for an X-Men thing too, but it's not gonna happen for another decade. So like, you better find something else to be excited about.
Fantastic Four, really, I'm telling you, the Fantastic Four universe is crazy because they have a lot of team ups with Spider-Man. So yeah,
I know, but it's not announced yet.
okay, fine. What has been announced for TV series? Okay
Um.
lah, probably What If lah,
Okay.
because it's literally Marvel saying, would you like it if I did it this way? And then they see the fan response and whatever, and then they will
It's like a
probably do.
survey.
Survey. It is the test market, test water. You like, you like, don't like. Okay.
I know you're gonna like hate on me, but I'm so looking forward to Miss Marvel. I really like can't wait to see Kamala Khan.
Nah, Miss Marvel is okay. I mean, she's a fan favorite. That's why I say there's Kamala Kang, right?
Just like Kamala Kang, like so is she Chinese? Because
No,
Kang
no.
is a Chinese surname.
Wow. So she's like Chindian, right? Because she's
Oh
Kamala
wow.
Kang, right? And yeah, that's just it. Probably it's just What If.
I think for
It seems like it
movies,
has good
I
premise.
I think for movies, mine has to be Multiverse of Madness. I mean, I like Doctor Strange. It's probably one of my favorite Benedict characters ever. So I'm really excited to see Multiverse of Madness. Plus, it's gonna be a horror movie apparently.
I mean, the thing is, you have all these A star right lists, right? You have all these A listers as the stars of that particular movie, you know it's not going to be bad, lah, right? At the worst, it's going to be decent and watchable, right? But you know that's not going to be the the glass ceiling.
I just like
I
Doctor
feel that
Strange. I really like
Fantastic
the first
Four is the
movie.
one that I have to really watch because they've done Fantastic Four dirty for so long. So depressing.
Honestly, if they bring
How they,
Chris Evans back for Fantastic Four, I will just close like one eye. I would really love it.
but the underdog movie that I want to watch is Shang-Chi.
Ooh, yeah. I've been following Simu Liu for a while. Oh, actually, Simu Liu? Whatever.
Simu Liu lah.
Yeah, I mean, that's his like Americanized. I feel like as a Chinese person, I should be able to pronounce his Chinese name properly. He
It's
even
okay,
has this TikTok about how like people keep asking him to like explain his real like pronunciation so they can pronounce it, but it's all these like American guys who don't know how to pronounce Chinese words. I have to send it to you later. Never mind. But yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
excited.
have a friend who looks exactly like him.
Huh?
With his body also.
What?
I'm not joking.
Are you sure you're not just friends with Simu Liu?
No, he's not Simu.
I've
I
been
know this guy exactly, right? So yeah, he looks quite similar to him. The body also same. Really, really, I'm not joking.
okay. Send to
Oh,
me
but he's
later.
definitely taller than Simu Liu. I
Tall is Simu Liu.
think like 5'12", maybe 6, maybe. Yeah, but he's my friend is 6'1", 6'2". So I was like wondering why didn't Marvel just cast my friend, right?
Wow. I've been following Simu since he's been on Wong Fu Productions a lot. I used to follow Wong Fu Productions a lot. Even Jimmy
Such an
Woo, our
Asian thing.
beloved Jimmy Woo,
Such
Randall
an
Park
Asian thing. Yeah.
was
Such
on
an
Wong Fu. Yeah.
Asian thing to do, right? I've been following Simu Liu and Randall Park since fresh off the boat.
Hey, I knew them before, but let's not fight about this. Have you watched Kim's Convenience?
No. Oh yeah. I mean I've seen the show lah, but I don't follow it. It seems too weird, have like a comedy setting around a Korean grocery store.
I mean, Fresh Off the Boat is a comedy setting around like a Western food franchise. Agak.
No, it's a Asian family in a Western setting.
It's so Asian family in a Canadian setting.
Yeah, but the thing is that you don't suffer the prejudices that you suffer over in America.
True.
It's
Canada seems
two different
nice.
things. Yeah, it's two different things. So
Okay then. You can catch.
I guess that's it for me at Kang, right? I'm to be honest, I'm not so much so for Loki. I'm for Kang.
At this point, I have nothing bad to say about Jonathan Majors except go and watch Lovecraft Country. Hunter B15 is also in Lovecraft Country, and she has this amazing episode. It's probably the best in the series. You have to watch it. Yeah, I guess that's all I have
Yeah,
to say.
indeed. And I think that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed hearing our thoughts about Loki. Hopefully, we'll be back for more Marvel stuff, right?
Yeah, maybe we can come back for Shang-Chi. Hey, talk about Aquafina.
Maybe.
We haven't even talked about Black Widow. Come on.
Doesn't matter.
Come on. Florence Pugh is in it. Okay, I guess
Yeah.
we end on this note.
Yes, we have to.
Yeah. I think we are actually slightly over time due to our technical difficulty. We right after this, actually we were supposed to end like at 4:30 so that at 5 p.m. Putz and Ayman could follow up with their Valorant stream. So we are slightly over. So immediately after this, you can just stay tuned. They're gonna start soon.
All right, thank you guys, and
Thank
hope you
you.
enjoyed.
Stay tuned for my video essay about nature versus nurture in the Loki series, in which I talk
All right,
about 15 minutes about character development. Thank you. Bye.
thank you guys for tuning in to the Magic Raincast. We will see you very soon. Thank you. Goodbye. Stay safe.